Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching my video presentation. Okay, here my name is Inayat Iman. I am from Groub 3, and here I would like to presentation about grounded theory in qualitative analysis. Okay, grounded theory is the study of a concept. It's not a descriptive study of descriptive problem. Most grounded theory believe they are theorizing about how the world is, rather how respondents see it, by Step-Borgatti and Glaser, 2010. Okay, the next is outline is there are 6 points. The first is definition of grounded theory. When do you use grounded theory? Types of grounded theory design. What are the steps in conducting grounded theory research? How do you evaluate grounded theory research? And the last is, for example, here, a grounded theory design is a systematic qualitative procedure used to generate a theory that explains at a broad conceptual level a process and action or interaction about a substantive topic. Very casual. The phrase grounded theory refers to theory that is developed inductively from a corpus of data. Grounded theory is the most common, with a used and popular analytic technique in a qualitative analysis. Thus, it is mainly used for qualitative research, but is also applicable to other data. Development of the grounded theory. Two sociologists, Bernanke, Glaser, and Ansel, illustrates development grounded theory in the late 1960s. University of California, San Francisco Medical Center with patients who were terminally recorded and published their methods of research. Glaser and Strauss developed a pioneering book that expounded in detail on their grounded theory procedure, the discovery of grounded theory, 1967. This next slide. When to use grounded theory. Okay, the best one is when you need a both theory or explanation of a process. Yes. For page 2, especially helpful when current theories about phenomena are either inadequate or non-existent. By Creswell, 2008. For page 3, when you wish to study some process, such as how students develop as readers, by Neff, or hike achieving African American and Gaussian. Okay, for the method says the basic idea of the grounded theory approach is to read textual database and discover a label variables, called categories, their concept and properties, and their interrelationship. The data don't have to be literally textual. They could be observation of behavior, such as interaction and events in restaurant. Often they are in the form of field notes, which are like tiny entires. Okay, there are data collections. There are interviews, observation, document, medical records, and videotapes. Okay, next slide is conducting a grounded theory study. Rather than beginning by researching and developing a hypothesis, the first step is data collection through a variety of methods. This contrasts with the scientific um, perspective that how you generate a theory. From the data collected, the key points are marked with a series of codes which are extracted from the text. The codes are grouped into similar concepts in order to make them more workable. Okay, workable. From these concept, categories are formed, which are the basic um, for the creation of theory. Okay, decide if grounded theory design best address the research problem, uh, identify a process to study, seek profile and access coded data, uh, use selective coding and develop the theory, validate your theory, write a grounded theory research report. Okay, next slide is types of grounded theory design. There are three dominant designs for grounded theory. The first is systematic design. Yeah, a systematic design in grounded theory emphasize the use of data analysis, step of open, axial, and selective coding, and the development and logic paradigm or a visual picture of the theory generate. In this definition, three pieces of coding exist. And data analysis, the first is open coding. The data are divided into segments and then serialized or commonalities that reflect categories or terms. After that are categorized, they are further examined for properties, uh, properties that characterize each category. In general, open coding is a process of reducing the data to a small set of things that appear to describe the phenomenon under investigation. Coding is the process of naming or labeling things, categories, and properties. Example of purpose statement and research article. Research question for grounded theory. Okay, article discuss theoretical consideration and use a visual model to illustrate how they applied grounded theory to this complex and sensitive topic. It focused on the analytic process and involved in implementing the key methods and concepts of grounded theory while using a sample for finding to illustrate methodological points. Okay, example of the purpose statement. The purpose of the project were to investigate whether and if so, how the process is used to identify, access, and place student high incidence special education programs contribute to the overrepresentation phenomenon and to identify referral and basement decision making process that successfully mitigate over identification and over presentation while also providing beneficial educational outcomes for students. And the research was conducted and funnel-like process over three phases. Okay, here for axial coding, this step is to group the discrete cards according to conceptual categories that reflect commonalities among cards. Strauss and Corbin refer to this as axial coding, reflecting the idea of clustering the open codes around specific axes or points of intersection. It is important to note that when engaging in categorizing axial coding, these properties are being identified through the interpretive lens of the researchers, who is already beginning to abstract meaning from the data. Okay, for selective coding, Strauss and Corbin refer to the fifth analytic level as selective coding, meaning that at this point the researchers place the various code clusters in a selective fashion, deciding how they relate to each other and what stories they tell. Thus, the analysis constructs a set of relational statements that can be used to explain, in a generalized sense, what is going on. Next slide. For the phase 1, September until April year 1, they collected data on the school district's placement rates and policies by examining relevant statistics and written documents. For phase 2, April year 1 till June year 2, they select two teachers and they students from each school for more extensive data collection consisting of 8 uh, until 12 observation in each classroom. In phase 3, September year 3 and a project, they conduct in-depth case studies of 12 students. Okay, the next slide and the last slide is how do you evaluate grounded theory research? Okay, when evaluating the quality of a grounded theory study, there are 4 points. The first is there a clear relationship between categories and raw data? Is the theory useful as conceptual explanation for the process being studied? Does the theory provide a relevant explanation of the actual problem and basic process? Is the theory modified as conditions change, or does the researchers collect educational data? And next, ask about the research process. There are 3 points. Was a theoretical model developed or produced? What does this model mean to conceptualize process, actions, or interactions? And next, are there central phenomena or core categories defined at the heart of this model? And the last is did the model emerge through the coding phase, initial code to more theoretically oriented code, or from open coding to Excel coding to selective coding. Okay, okay, just enough for my presentation today. Hope you can get a theory about it and useful for you and for us. Thank you for the attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.